open your calendar on a Monday morning and there's not a lot there, or maybe even nothing there. And immediately you think, oh, it's going to be a quiet week. That feeling within seconds, your brain has gone from Friday was good and now Monday, everything feels like it's going to fall apart. I've had this feeling more times than I care to admit. And most advice for quiet periods, I think, is to work harder, do more outreach, perfect your offer, network more. I think they're the wrong thing to focus on in that moment. They assume that the person making the decision is thinking clearly. And in my experience, they're not. So see if this feels familiar. The first thing your brain does is mental maths. Within minutes, you start calculating what you might make today and what that might mean for this week and then this month. And then what if that repeats itself? Suddenly you start thinking about your livelihood, your income, your mortgage, how you're going to support your kids, your family, whatever it might be. One quiet week has suddenly become evidence for not just your business, but your whole life collapsing. And this is purely because your brain thinks you're in danger in that moment. So it wants some sort of action and it wants it now. Start refreshing your LinkedIn, sending more outreach, emailing old clients, looking for referrals, and maybe even cutting your rates and taking on projects that you normally would have said no to. Anything that feels like you're starting to take the control back. The problem is those decisions rarely come from your best thinking, they come from fear. So imagine jumping on a call with a prospective client and you desperately need this one. I have to get this one because it's going to remove the uncertainty and the fear of a quiet week. So you'll probably lower your rate. You throw in extra work and tell yourself you'll only do this once. But then when business starts to pick up again, you're left working on a rate that you never really wanted to charge in the first place. You're starting to resent the work. When you have those quiet days and you just persist and sit at your desk, you actually end the day more anxious, probably twice the amount, because you've still not had anything happen at the end of the day. So you feel even more disappointed that you've spent the day working, even though you've not really done anything. You've just tried to force an outcome. Here's the thing that I find my brain completely ignores. This has happened before, like lots of times. Every quiet week felt like the beginning of the end. I've seen this movie, I've seen this story over and over again every single time. It was not the end, like the business recovered. And then it happened again, and you go through that same cycle. And this is what really fascinates me. And not only do I have that firsthand evidence of having recovered multiple times and having seen those dips and come through them, but I've got like decades or longer of evidence of every successful business that's ever existed. All you have to do is look at any stock. It rises, it falls, it recovers, it falls again. That is the nature of it. No business grows in a perfect straight line. So the question is, why do we expect our business to behave differently? Why is one quiet week suddenly make us think, well, this time is different? This is the one that's going to take me down. For me, this is the most difficult part of working for yourself, is these moments where you spiral. The thing that's helped me the most is really accepting that in those moments of a spiral, I'm not thinking clearly. So you think back to maybe learning to drive and the instructor points out a mistake you make. Suddenly you're overthinking and you make another mistake and then another one, and nothing changes about your ability to drive. Just a pressure change because somebody was over your shoulder pointing out what you were doing wrong. And you feel like you could drive a lot better if they just shut up for a minute. And quiet weeks feel like that to me. It's the same relationship with your inner critic. Your inner critic is watching every decision, is like an instructor. They're trying to keep you safe, but it's everything. It's pointing out everything. So the way I think about it is, let them shut up for a while. Don't try and keep making business decisions when your inner critic is watching every move. So what I do when I start to feel this come on is I close the laptop and I get out of the house. It might be the house, the office, wherever you work. Go for a walk, go to the beach, get into nature, either for the vast majority of the day or even for a couple of hours, just to create that distance. When the business is in your head every single second of the day, every thought starts to feel urgent. And then urgency was just not a good place to make a business decision from. As well as that, in that state, everything hits harder. Like rejection, every email feels personal, every silence feels meaningful. You're never thinking about what's best in the long term, what's best over the year. You're thinking about just trying to make that feeling disappear, that uncomfortable uncertainty. There's something else that helped, and I kind of touched on it there, but it's noticing. It's being able to spot when your brain goes there, when your inner critic shows up, and that comes from labeling it. So instead of thinking, oh, this is bad. My business is in trouble here. I'm failing. Just say to yourself, well, there it is again. That's my brain trying to protect me again. And that's it. So you don't need to argue with it or prove it wrong or anything like that. Just recognizing when it happens allows you to see and then make a better decision on what you want to do next. The next one is a bit more practical, but collect the evidence because memory is never enough and you need that evidence. So what I've done is for the last couple of years is track every day. So every job I do and how much it makes and then what that equates to in a day and what that equates to in a week. And then I just track it on ChatGPT. It's very simple to do. Over time, you're just building a picture of what your business is, one that includes the dips. So you stop expecting a perfectly straight line, which is completely unrealistic. And you start expecting quieter weeks as well. Once you expect them, they stop feeling like everything has suddenly gone wrong or gone against you. Here's another one that might help is, and one thing I definitely wish I did earlier was to find more people I could speak to about it because it's a lonely job. It's a lonely place working for yourself. The majority of people don't do it. So it's important to have people in your network who are on a similar journey. Like some of them might be a few years ahead, some of them might be a few years behind, but all of them know this feeling. So find people who do similar work to you. Like, don't look at them as your competition. I know people who do the exact same work as me who I connect with and I chat to from time to time. It's easy to look at them as my competition, but they're not. They're one of the best resources you'll ever have. And some of the most reassuring conversations I've had have come from other business owners, clients as well, have been super helpful to me. I remember talking to a client who was incredibly successful, like he'd built companies and sold them for millions. And I told him at one point that, you know, I was having a spiral over something small. And he actually said to me, oh, you spiral as well. Glad I'm not the only one. And it was amazing to me because in my head, like this was an incredibly successful person who was so much further along than me, but yet he still had these feelings, the same ones. And I think no matter where you are in the journey of building a business or being self-employed, you're feeling these things. And that is actually a bit of a relief. So quiet weeks, they're probably unavoidable. I don't think they ever completely disappear based on chatting to other people and people who are further along than me. If not this, then something else shows up that causes the anxiety. What changed for me wasn't the business. It was learning not to trust the story that my brain keeps telling me or my inner critic, because every quiet week felt like the beginning of the end. But looking back, none of them ever were. So one thing I'm curious about is what has helped you during quiet weeks, because I still struggle with this. As much as I'm trying to implement these things I've spoken about, I do still struggle, and there may be better ways or ways that you've experienced that have really worked. And I genuinely love to hear what they are. So let me know in the comments. And I think I'm finding the more I do this, I'm 4 years in, that the brain pulls the same tricks in every aspect of your business. So does it when you're negotiating or does it when you're pricing? And that's what this next video is about, where I break down 3 temptations that I always feel come up whenever you're speaking to a client about price. And those temptations are, again, just that voice in your head that's trying to protect you. But if you follow it, it's the thing that costs you the most.